Hello and welcome to the Event Bestie, the show that unlocks the magic of event planning by taking you behind and before the scenes. I'm your host, Tanya Hales. In today's episode, I'm breaking down the now globally infamous Detroit Bridgerton Ball. Think Fire Festival for less cost per person, but more ball gowns, an equal number of disastrous and shake your head moments. There may or may not be a pole dancer involved. I'll be guiding you through the who, when, why, what, and how this could all go from comically bad to legally worse for the event promoters. Buckle up, buttercups. We're about to go on an investigative journey. Act 1, setting the table. On Sunday, September 22nd, the Bridgerton-themed ball was supposed to take place at the Harmony Club in Detroit. The now-disabled website promised to have guests step into an enchanted world of the Regency era from 6 p.m. to 12 p.m., an evening of sophistication, grace, and historical charm. Experience like no other, music, dance, and exquisite costumes. You'll also get the chance to win Diamond of the Season. Suitors in attendance will have the chance to win $2,000 cash for Best Dressed. According to a BBC article, screenshots of the tickets online showed pricing starting at around $150, but others spent more for the $1,000 Duke and Duchess package, which included dinner and other perks. Twitter user Rachel Eaton started her threading of her story by posting a screenshot from the event organizers that read as follows. Dear gentle readers, if you have not received our email communication Thursday, with a heavy heart we have to inform you that the Bridgerton theme event has been rescheduled to September 22nd and will now take place at the Harmony Club. Due to unforeseen circumstances, Beacon Park, our original venue, has canceled our event as of Tuesday evening. This cancellation came after we had received approval from both the City of Detroit and the Fire Marshal. Beacon Park, in conjunction with the castle, was originally chosen to accommodate all of our guests with a combined capacity of 10,000. In light of this, we have secured a new, larger venue that can comfortably accommodate all attendees and more. We apologize for any inconvenience this may cause and appreciate your understanding. For detailed information regarding the venue change and the updated event details, please refer to the last 2 slides of the attached document. We will also respond to all inquiries and send out a further communication today. I don't know when the date of that email and that post was, so I'm going to go, it's around the original date that was supposed to be in August. What's also interesting to me is that they had technically 2 venues, Beacon Park and then the castle, which had a combined capacity of 10,000. So does that mean that they were expecting 10,000 people for this event? That's crazy, because to expect and hope that 10,000 people will buy tickets to a first-time event with no receipts and no visuals is basically impossible in this day and age. Them mentioning that they got approval from the city and the fire marshals means that someone in the background at least knows something about what they're doing, because a lot of people who throw events without proper event planning knowledge forget that you can't just do things without permits or you will get shut down by cities, especially if you're expecting to be serving alcohol to a large group of the general public. Now, what I love is that the internet always comes with receipts. Someone in the Twitter comments replied to that cancellation screenshot of a young lady saying, they originally tried to have it at my job and we had to cancel because they wouldn't pay the remaining money to rent the venue. In the world of event planning, your venue is home base for everything. You don't have a date without a venue, so your venue has to be the first thing you have to have the money to pay. If you're taking money from people and selling tickets at $150 a pop and pocketing that and not paying your venue, of course they're going to cancel the contract. And you might still owe them money because all venues have a cancellation clause. Most won't give back the deposit, and some might even have a penalty. They do this because they probably turned away other business because you had that date locked up. Whether the venue is able to rebook it or not, you are on the hook for the contract that you signed. Venues do not do same day or day after payment because they know once the event happens, there's no guarantee that they'll get their money. Because I'm your favorite event planning detective, I went on the case to learn more about this venue, Harmony Club. When you Google them, there's no website. So that's a flag to me, because how would other people know how to rent your venue? And how did Uncle and me, the promoters of the Bridgerton Ball, find them? I go to the next best thing, which is their Instagram. They have 5 posts. Their bio says, coming summer 2024, Detroit's newest addition to the entertainment venue scene. There are 2 venue posts and 3 coming soon posts. They replied to a comment about their first event being tied to the disaster, distancing themselves from the promoter. But more on that later. There was some chatter from folks online about the culpability from the venue, so let your event bestie break it down for you a little bit. When you rent a space, you are renting the 4 walls, ceiling, and floors of that space, and the things that come along with it. Some venues will have tables, chairs, linens, and it is included in the price. Sometimes they have an in-house catering company that provides all the food, where you have to order food from them. You can't bring in an outside caterer. Some venues have an in-house AV company because they don't want everyone touching their expensive AV equipment. So they have a company that is contracted that you have to procure, or it is literally an in-house technician to do the things from lighting, sound, etc. Other people that may come with the rental might include co-checks, security, bar, and service staff. This is not always the case, and this is what contracts are for. This event venue space is very new, so it is unlikely that they have a ton of things for clients to rent. Also because all that stuff requires storage and labor to set it up and tear it down. We don't know what this venue has because there's no website. As an event planner, I need to know I'm not wasting my time when I'm looking for a space. And is it too big or too small for what I need? What is the standing versus seating capacity? How accessible is it? There are a lot of questions to ask a venue before you book it. Don't worry, there'll be an episode in the future with an event venue to break all this stuff down in more detail. While there are a lot of red flags already from the promoter side, there's a couple of orange ones that are pinging for me on the venue side. But in the end, the venue is not responsible for what a promoter or a wedding party or a corporate client does. If the event is a programming or logistical mess, it is very rare that the venue is at fault for that. They are just a contracted vendor. If you caught episode 4, where I break down the Fire Festival, it's the same thing. The fault 99% of the time lies with the promoter of the event. For this event, I'm curious about the on-site venue coordinator. Was there no one asking where the florist was, when the band was coming? Venues are usually very particular about knowing who is coming in and out of their space and when. But the people we really need to be looking at is Uncle and Me, LLC. According to the Detroit Free Press, who managed to get some information from the official website before it was shut down, Uncle and Me, LLC was started by an uncle and niece team, Jeremy Scott and Chelsea Beard. The website mentioned, we bring amazing network events to local cities for small businesses. Their page also shows Motor Spring Pop-Up Shop and Eastern Market for Cinco de Mayo last spring. They filed for articles of organization in Michigan in January 2023. I love mainstream media because they will do all the digging. I love that they found their articles of incorporation. That was funny to me. The bio for their now deleted IG account mentioned, we are a family-owned event management company. According to our friend Rachel from Twitter, the last event that they did before the gala was some sort of musical festival. I'm not saying that event management companies can't do a variety of events, but it just didn't really go. And there also wasn't much about the event itself being promoted on that page. We'll chat in a future episode about how to market and gain trust for first-year events with no receipts. But now that we know all the before, let's get to the during. Act 2, it's on-site, pun intended. Guests arrived to the venue on a rainy evening and were forced to wait outside after doors should have already been opened. So not off to a good start. Listen, no one wants to be outside in the rain in a long dress. Their hair is done, men are in suits, etc., which is why a good event planner should always have a rain plan. In an ideal world, you want to get people into the venue quickly. You might have to move your registration area around so that they're not all congealed and condensed into a crushed space. If you have hundreds or thousands of people expected to attend, they're all going to show up at the same time. There's so many minute decisions you have to make as an event planner that have big impacts on the guest experience. I had the same nightmare happen to me for Afrotech 2017. The skies were fine, and then it wasn't. It started to rain as hundreds waited to get inside. So me and some staff went through the line with iPads to check people in to try and shorten their time spent in the rain. A planner has to do what a planner has to do. But back to Bridgerton Ball. Once guests got inside, the food was being served by staff wearing sports jerseys, which, okay, like not even a black, you couldn't even an all black, a button up, nothing, okay, that's fine. According to a guest that chatted with the Detroit Free Press, her dinner was undercooked chicken wings, one meatball, and some mashed potatoes. Now, I know everyone on socials is all about the entertainment part, but the vision of one meatball gives me a visual that sends me every single time I think about it. One singular meatball. I literally cannot. There was no staff on hand to clean up the dishes from the table. This is also where it's a gray area of who is at fault. For some venues, if they're providing the catering, then they do provide the service staff to do the setup of the tables, the clearing of the tables, etc. But if it's a venue rental where all of this is brought up from the outside, they do not have to have people who are responsible for all that, or you have to procure housekeeping services from them. If that was not the expectation in the contract, then it again falls to the planner again as a failure. If you listen to episode 2 of my biggest event oopsies, you'll know that I know all about this particular issue. Images of the decor is very similar to the Fyre Fest sandwich, if we can even call that a sandwich, and the Willy Wonka event that went viral earlier this year for being the saddest, most depressing chocolate experience ever. It's giving Temu meets Dollar Store. Definitely not up to a queen standards. According to the Reddit r Detroit, a guest wrote, "We showed up around 6:50. There was no one at the door taking tickets, so everyone just walked in." So, my note, technically you didn't even need to really pay for this event if no one's checking tickets. Back to the guest's quote, "There was no directions, so they went to the 3rd floor where they saw vendors selling goods. And I love Japanese Kit Kats just like the next person, but not the Bridgerton ball. I saw a guy walk by with a sparkling beverage and say no alcohol, and after seeing people sitting on the floor and disappointment, my wife and I left." Another guest in that same Reddit thread, "My girlfriend and I were there. I'm not even sure what happened tonight. No security, no one checking tickets, which is insulting because we spent $150 each. Dinner was announced 10 minutes before it was served. Again, no direction. People were wandering around, and when we got to the front, someone told us we had to go find a clean plate at one of the tables. I don't drink, but apparently alcohol was promised, and there was none." Oof. A guest in the Detroit Free Press article mentioned that a man and woman were named as winners in the Diamond of the Season Best Dress contest. My questions are, who were the people naming those people? Why did people stick around long enough to even be named a winner? And do you think they will ever see their $2,000 cash prize? I'm going to go with no. The string quartet became a singular violinist trying to do her job, who, to no one's surprise, hasn't been paid. And of course, the thing that made this go extremely viral is the pole dancer randomly set up in the middle of a room. In an interview with a local news station, Detroit acrobat Tink, Tink, said that she had just been hired as a pole dancer 3 hours before the event. She mentions, "I just feel very bad for all the patrons who showed up to the event, just because my goal for the performance is to bring happiness and cheers to everyone, so kind of bummed me out, knowing that everyone was so unhappy with the outcome." Tink said in another interview with The Cut that out of all of her full menu of acts, the organizers decided to go with pole dancing. "The organizers just told me it was a Bridgerton ball. I'm not too big of a fan of Bridgerton. I didn't really know what it was, but I did look it up before I went. I packed a bunch of different costumes and they approved the one I wore when I got there. I had a few costumes that I wore for a Chicago Great Gatsby themed event, and that's what they went with." I have so many questions and not enough time. Act 3, the aftermath. I started working on this podcast on September 27th, 2 days after the story started to spread around the world. I had seen the Twitter thread on the 24th, but once I saw the Hollywood Reporter and major mainstream media pick it up, I knew the troubles were only going to get worse. According to Teen Vogue, the co-founder Chelsea released a statement to her personal Instagram about the public backlash to the events, with comments disabled, of course. It reads, "We understand that not everyone had the experience they anticipated at our event on Sunday night at the Harmony Club, and for that we sincerely apologize. Our goal was to create a magical evening, but we realized that organizational challenges and unforeseen changes, including a last-minute venue change and date change, impacted the experience for some guests. Unfortunately, some non-refundable deposits from the original bookings resulted in losses on our end, which added to the challenges. Nonetheless, we take full responsibility for the shortcomings. Please know we are working diligently to address all concerns and will be reaching out with further details shortly. Your feedback, both positive and constructive, is greatly appreciated. You can expect an email with next steps. We want to extend a special thanks to those who attended. You all looked breathtaking, and we're excited to share the recap video and photos soon. Your understanding and loyalty mean the world, and we are dedicated to making this right. With love and gratitude. Take a pause. What's wild is her using the event sizzle reel for this apology note. And this would show to me that she's only embarrassed at being called out globally versus being sorry for failing hundreds of people. Also, people would have to know her personal IG to even see it versus putting it on the official business account that they disabled. Now having her Instagram, of course, I went down the rabbit hole. Back in July, she threw a Bridgerton-themed tea party at the Taylor Conservatory and Botanical Gardens, which seemed to have gotten relatively positive reviews, which is nice. So I guess she saw that and decided I want to do something bigger, but bit off more than she can chew. But let's break down this statement. We understand that not everyone had the experience that they hoped for. Did anyone have the experience that they hoped for? Did the vendors get paid? Did the guests get the experience that they paid for? To quote Gabrielle Union in her iconic meme, did you get the views? Did you get the clicks? Did you get the engagement? There is literally nobody who got the experience that they hoped for. Chalking it up to organizational challenges, which affected the enjoyment of some guests, you mean all of the guests? I feel like the only guests who are not affected by the organizational challenges were the people who didn't get to go. Last-minute venue change and date change impacted the experiences. Unfortunately, some non-refundable deposits from the original booking. Let's talk about this. According to a screenshot found on Reddit, there's an email from the original venue to the planner, and it says, "Hi Chelsea, thank you for your continued interest in Beacon Park as an event space for the Bridgerton-themed event on August 25th. After several conversations, in-person meetings, and then learning more details about the event through several follow-up emails, since we've unfortunately determined that this concept has expanded beyond what we're willing or able to accommodate." That is very, very, very telling from a venue to say, this is doing more than we thought and we're good. What I suspect is Uncle and Me LLC was selling more tickets than the venue was comfortable with, putting the venue at risk, especially if it breaks fire codes. Or they kept refusing to pay, so they pulled out and saw this train wreck coming. No one on the planet is happier about that decision than that venue. Also, the month before isn't last minute, and you chose the rescheduled date. But something tells me they were still selling tickets throughout this entire process. We are reviewing resolution options, which will be communicated shortly. AKA, we don't have the money to refund people and pay everyone for the money that we took in. And if there's any money left, they may offer guest partial refunds, but I wouldn't count on it. Also, if they are in breach of contract, the platform they use to sell the tickets and or the payment processing company might make that difficult for them. It is always recommended using a credit card to purchase tickets from a reputable bank, so not a prepaid card or a debit credit card, to file a chargeback. There's tons of proof that guests did not get what they paid for, so it should be an easy one. Plus, credit card companies usually side on the side of the customer since that's who they have a relationship with. Roger Basmajian, hopefully I'm pronouncing his name correctly, president and CEO of the real estate and development firm Basco, which owns the Harmony Club and runs the venue, said his group has nothing to do with the programming and what happened. He said his firm had been mostly paid, that's their loose quotations, and did not know how many people showed up to the event, but said the capacity was 500. And if you remember from the rescheduling email, Uncle and Me said they were moving to our bigger venue from the previous that had a capacity of 10,000. So what is the truth? Roger is quoted in the Detroit Free Press as saying, "We feel bad as to how people got treated, but our involvement was not in the programming, selling the tickets, the food, and beverage that was served. We really weren't aware of what was promised and ultimately got delivered. He stated in a follow-up email, Harmony Club offers support for events such as providing proper back-of-house facilities, janitorial, security, and safety team. That sets off a flag to me because as the venue, you always want to know what is happening with capacity. You would either have your own security at the front door, making sure you don't hit your fire code numbers, or make sure that the people renting the venue are keeping track of it in some way. So was there not an on-site event coordinator who was managing this event? I know I already asked this question, but I'm asking it again for a friend. Harmony Club ends their quote, "We are highly disappointed with the organizers of this event and their mistreatment of guests. We are currently evaluating our vetting procedures in an effort to prevent such events from taking place in our facility in the future, as well as any legal remedies that may be available to us against the promoters of this event." One thing I just want to note is that if you're going to scam people, events is a terrible way to do it because the amount of money you have to put out up front, you would have to scam so much to get back. Like, please do fire festival type of scams where you're getting millions of dollars from corporate partners, but also be a white man so that you can come back and do it again despite being a convicted felon. I know y'all heard that Firefest 2 is on sale right now. Now your name is being tarnished globally. Everything to do with your company is going to be picked apart. And for what? At most 60 to 80K? And they came up with that estimate with 400 tickets being sold at 150, with some being sold at 1,000, minus their deposits and their Shein decor. The money they made has probably already even been spent. After all of this, they might have a bigger problem on their hands. You cannot use someone else's licensed trademark for your own benefit without permission. You cannot have an Oscars party and charge for it. You cannot have a Super Bowl party and charge for it. You cannot have an NCAA March Madness party and charge for it. You just cannot do those things. I mean, sure, you technically could do those things, but the Oscars, the NFL, and the NCAA will be well within their rights to come after you for making money off of their IP. So let this be a warning to anyone who might want to organize a party that is using a term that is legally trademarked by a large corporate entity. Don't do it. Reconsider. Read some literature on the subject. And if you know that song lyric, we go together. We know that large multi-billion-dollar international companies like Disney have no problems going after small businesses on Etsy who use Mickey Mouse or any of the Disney princesses to make money for themselves. Netflix and Shondaland are very big brands/corporations who take their creative IP very, very, very seriously. And right now, when you Google Bridgerton, this debacle is what comes up. The pictures being used in every article are clips from the show, despite the lack of affiliation, because papers need images to go with the story. They have full legal rights to go after Uncle and Me, which I highly doubt has fight Netflix money. And this is especially bad when Netflix and Bridgerton and Shondaland have been doing a content rollout for their season 4. They just announced the leads. We don't even know when season 4 is going to drop. It probably won't be until 2025. But this is the equivalent of messing with a Marvel movie leak. Like, if you think this doesn't matter and lawyers weren't called, I have a house at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue to sell you. So something tells me this story, dearest gentle listener, while it may fade like all other viral stories do, that it's far from over. In summary, is there anything for me to really even summarize? I know everyone likes to blame the guests for being naive and all of this. And while some investigating of the promoter's socials may have set up some alarms, the sole responsibility lies with Uncle and Me, LLC. The venue, the violinist, the acrobats, the caterer, and the guests all deserved better. Let this be a cautionary tale for budding event planners not to bite off more you can chew or make promises you don't intend to keep before you end up on the news from the BBC to the New York Times and everywhere else in between. And that's a wrap for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. I have never done this much research. I think since my college university days, writing a 20-page paper. There was Reddit, there was Twitter, the BBC, the New York Times, Teen Vogue, Detroit Free Press. I feel like there was others. It was a lot, y'all. And hopefully I was able to paint the proper picture for you. And yeah, if you liked it, slide over to that subscribe button so I know it's real. Until next time, we'll keep the red carpet ready for you.